In New Westminster, 4 men climbed down into the rusty hold of this barge. Unknown to them, inside the hold, the rust had consumed much of the oxygen. Not enough was left for them to breathe, making this confined space a death trap. But there are ways to make confined spaces safer. Located along the Sea to Sky Highway, the Epcor water remediation plant cleans heavy metal runoff from an abandoned mine site. The facility contains at least 6 different types of confined spaces.
Here at the Epcor water treatment plant at Britannia Mine, we have several different confined spaces, ranging from sludge-filled tanks to turbine buildings with low oxygen. We also have manholes. We have clarifiers and reactor tanks and various other chemical tanks. And several of those require that we follow confined space entry procedures.
We have regulations that are intended to have people recognize that these spaces are a problem. You have to essentially go out and identify the spaces in your property or in your plant. You figure out where they are and what they are. You get somebody who's very qualified to come in and assess the risk. What are the risks in these spaces? Do we have gases? Do we have solids? Do we have liquids? What do we have to do? And then you have to make all that information available in work procedures so that anybody going into those spaces knows what the hazards are. Right behind me here, there's a typical white tank. That's a confined space. And there's a hatchway in the bottom, there's a hatchway in the top, and the workers at some point in time are going to have to go in there and do something. So in this particular plant, they have to know what's in that space, what could go in that space while workers are there. Is there something that could happen while they're in there?
In Kimberley, 4 people entered a shed at a former mine site. Oxygen-depleted air had been carried into a sump in the shed through a wastewater drainage pipe. Here, too, with not enough oxygen for them to breathe, all 4 died. As a result of what happened in Kimberley, every time Epcor workers enter a structure that water from a mine runs through, they first test the air with an oxygen monitor. At Britannia, water runoff from the mine flows down into a shed where it's used to generate electricity. The shed, with features like ventilation and lighting and the absence of a sump, is not deemed a confined space. Even so, the air is tested every time the shed is entered.
This is Epcor's Britannia Mine microhydro station. It is a turbine station, and we have an possible oxygen deficient atmosphere here. So I'll show you the entry procedure here, and I'm going to go in, turn off an alarm switch, turn on the exhaust switch, and we'll enter.
Now, another requirement of the BC regulations for confined space work is to test and ventilate the space. They wrote that into the regulation. It's a very deliberate requirement, and this kind of thing, in the research that I did, would prevent loss of many, many lives.
So how do you make confined spaces safer? Always test before entering. Had they tested the air in the hold on the barge and in the shed in Kimberley, workers wouldn't have entered those deadly spaces, and they'd be alive today.